John Boyne, a prolific author. His most famous work probably being The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, that book that you saw in your school library but picked up Animorphs instead. A book that the Holocaust Museum says is woefully inaccurate. The John Boyne book, not Animorphs. He also once included a Legend of Zelda recipe in a historical drama book. I didn't know they had Octorok eyeballs in the Middle Ages. For those in the book sphere, you might have heard his name recently in relation to the Polari Prize. This isn't what this video is about, but for context. The Polari Prize, an annual LGBTQ+ book award, decided to nominate one of Mr. Boyne's books, and he is a proud TERF. TERF meaning a trans-exclusionary radical feminist, aka a transphobe. He's apparently good friends with J.K. Rowling and doesn't identify with being called cisgenders. But I saw a comment on Reddit about him that said, it turns out the real reason he refused to say cis male is because he couldn't find it in his Zelda game FAQs, and assumed it wasn't a real term, which is very funny. This news got me thinking. Didn't he write a book about trans people? And he did. In 2019, My Brother's Name is Jessica was released. It has a reasonable score on Goodreads, but was panned by the trans community. There are quite a few reviews that state they didn't actually read the book, so I decided to. I'm a trans man myself, so I guess I kind of have relevant experience. I wanted to make an informed decision about this book, and I have a lot to talk about, so I'll go through it point by point and share my thoughts. Let's start with the cover. Oh boy, we didn't get very far. Even if you don't read the book, I'm not gonna lie, the title is a transphobic statement. Though it is a quote from a late chapter, it's still misgendering. Even though I know the context, I think this title was a very bad idea, and it probably would have been better received if the title was different. Believe me, this book has issues with a capital I, but the title definitely isn't helping. Let's read the blurb. Sam Waver's older brother Jason has always been there for him. Sam idolises Jason, who seems to have life sorted. He's kind, popular, amazing at football, and the girls are falling over themselves to date him. But then one evening, Jason calls his family together to tell them that he's been struggling with a secret for a long time. A secret which quickly threatens to tear them all apart. His parents don't want to know, and Sam simply doesn't understand. Because what do you do when your brother says he's not your brother at all? That he's actually your sister. Dun dun dun. So it's basically about a boy coming to terms with his sibling transitioning. And I thought, I also have a sibling. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, can you confirm that you are my sibling?
I can, we are biologically related.
Okay, and how long would you say we've known each other?
I mean, you've known me your whole life. I've known you since I was 2. Yeah, 2 years apart, almost exactly.
Yeah, pretty much. In the book, the siblings are sort of, one of them's 13, one of them's 17, and it is instead the older sibling who is trans, whereas with us, I am the younger sibling, and I am trans. And my sister has very kindly agreed to this kind of interview, I guess we'd call it.
Discussion.
A discussion, that's a good way of putting it, a discussion. And throughout the video I will be cutting back and forth throughout to kind of make things plot relevant. Our story begins with the main character Sam recounting how their sibling got a scar. It's quite a sweet scene, actually, but it starts with something that continues throughout the entire story. Every single time that Sam says his sibling's name, he says, "My brother Jason." It's never just Jason, it's always "my brother Jason." I'm assuming this is purposeful because of a dramatic moment later, but it irritated me to no end. The book constantly misgenders the titular Jessica, so I will be calling her by her name and using the correct she/her pronouns. That might confuse people, but I do not feel comfortable misgendering this poor woman. especially after all she goes through. Through 99.9% of the book, Jessica is referred to as he, him, as Sam's brother, as a son, a boy, constantly. Yes, this is supposed to be about Sam coming to terms with his sister's gender identity, learning how to use the right words, etc. And this would be a lot more acceptable if the book weren't written in past tense. This is a story being told to us by a future Sam, and at the end, switches to first person in a present day segment. It's generally the rule to refer to a trans person's young self with the same pronouns they go by now, because it might cause that person dysphoria. So this perspective choice comes across as purposeful misgendering. I think it would have been better if it was first person all the way through. It wouldn't fix everything, by any means, but we would see the real-time journey of Sam learning how to talk to his sister properly. We're introduced to their parents, who I will be referring to as Mum and Dad for brevity. Mum is a cabinet minister, although she used to be a, quote, normal member of parliament, which I don't think is possible. And her dad is her secretary. They are awful people. Back to that later. Our lead is Sam, a 13-year-old boy who looks up to their sibling a lot. She is referred to as Jason, but again, I will be calling her Jessica. We get a cute bit where Sam has to write an essay about someone he admires and he picks his sibling. I like that. I admire my sister a lot too. Jessica is a very popular student and is very important to the school's football team, but she's also very clearly going through something. Quote, I knew something was wrong with my brother Jason for about 1.5 years before he told us his secret. He'd started to grow a little more distant towards me, towards all of us, and sometimes he would shut himself in his room and refuse to open the doors for hours at a time. I hated when he did that, because he never excluded me from anything in the past, and it didn't matter how often I knocked, he'd just shout at me to go away and leave him alone. Once, when I got home from school, I found him crying on his bed and I didn't know what to do. This begins a trend going forwards of Sam making everything about himself, but let's put a little pin in that and we'll go back to that later. The dad doesn't give a shit about his upset child, instead complaining about teenagers and his kid's ridiculous long hair. To be honest, not much happens until the scene where Jessica comes out to her family early on. She is clearly very nervous about this. She starts with saying there's something she's known for a long time, something that she's always felt that was difficult to come to terms with. It's quite a nice paragraph actually, apart from the misgendering. You're going to say you're gay, aren't you? Asked Mum, putting a hand to her mouth. Not the best reaction. There's a very dramatic coming out line when Sam says, you're the best brother in the world, you know that. She says, I don't think I'm your brother. I think I'm actually your sister. I don't have any concrete issue with this, it's just so drama. Do you remember me coming out to you at all?
I remember first telling you about what being trans was in a, what was it,
Debenhams changing room, yeah.
Yes, and you were trying on these dresses and you were horribly uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
And we suggested sort of trying on a suit instead, didn't we?
Yeah.
Was that it? Am I misremembering it? Or
I'm not sure if it was a suit, it was certainly like, maybe you'll be more comfortable in
oh, it was
in
men's
guys'
clothes. Yeah. You were always just horribly uncomfortable. I can remember going to like weddings and things, and you were sort of gently encouraged to wear dresses because that's what girls did.
Oh, of course.
And you were always like hunched over and just sort of, just uncomfortable
sad.
in your own skin.
Yeah.
Which changed then when you started wearing guys' clothes. It was a lovely change to see.
So thank you for introducing me to the concept of trans people.
You're welcome.
Do you remember Mum and Dad's reactions at all? Like, it's by the way, this has been like over 10 years, so it's okay if you just don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, my memory is, I can't remember 10 minutes ago, so 10 years. I don't know, I mean, because you came out to me first for like about a year, I want to say, before, it was a significant period. I don't know whether Mum knows that actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think I do remember Mum and Dad's reaction. They must have had one.
Yeah.
Whether we...
they must have. Yeah.
But I mean, presumably I'd remember if it was negative. So
Yeah.
there was never any, like, you know, get out of my house. There was none of that. It was just...
It was either sort of... They're very, like, private about dealing with their feelings, so it's all...
Yeah, stiff upper lip, British sort of, yeah.
Oh, yes. They then leave the chapter on that coming out cliffhanger, but we don't see the immediate reaction, ever. Instead, there's a flashback about Sam's nemesis, David Fugue, who is basically an asshole kid with a rich father. This might be a personal preference, but I don't like how many time skips we get. It makes the narrative feel so disjointed, and it jumps over things that we want to see. I want to see how the parents reacted to Jessica coming out, but instead we just skip over it. And this flashback includes a concerning scene. The mum is worried about a neighbour who's moving out. She's peeking through the curtains, hoping to see who'll be moving in, and Sam asks questions, and she says things like, "It's a very settled area, Sam. It's what you might call a local area." She wouldn't have wanted just anyone living in her house, don't you think? But what can you do? The country isn't like it was when I was a girl. I want to see this part of London open to everyone. But for a community to flourish, everyone has to be part of that community. We have to help each other out, to act in a neighbourly fashion, to feel comfortable living side by side. She voted Brexit, didn't she? These are common buzzwords that people use when they want to be bigoted with a safety hatch. Whoa, 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 I'm not racist, homophobic or anything. I just want nice neighbours. Bro, get real, we know what you mean. And Jessica calls her out on it. It's all middle-class values around here, isn't it? Keep like with like, don't let the foreigners in. You don't even have any black friends, do you? We love Jessica, but she's then framed as being wrong? The parents say that they can't be racist because they do have black friends, and they even go out with a gay couple on occasion. How dare Jessica even suggest such an appalling thing? Even Sam thinks, I felt like leaving the room because even I was disappointed in my brother Jason. And Jessica then apologises. I'm sorry, he said eventually. I was wrong. Yes, you were. You can still do and say racist things, even if you have black friends. Same with any other minority. This book frames Jessica as overreacting and paints her as overly sensitive. The mum then goes overboard when she finds out the newbies are people of colour. Now, she cried, turning around in triumph, a broad smile on her face. He's black, she's white, and their children are a bit of both. And do you know what I'm going to do, Jason? I'm going to go over there right now and tell them what a wonderful neighbourhood this is. Sam, hand me some of those election leaflets. It won't do any harm to secure their votes from the start. Would she have done this otherwise? I'm sceptical. The racism issue doesn't come up again, so this comes off to me as a way to say, aren't trans people so sensitive about everything? They're so woke and will just leap on anything without all the facts. A common anti-woke stance is that LGBTQ plus folk overreact to social issues. At least that's the impression I got from this anyway. Basically, this new family moving in includes David, Sam's nemesis. It then skips to the morning after Jessica came out to them. The mum says, I think it's best to pretend last night never took place. It was just one of those strange evenings that happen from time to time and are best forgotten about. I want to say here that I'm not shitting on the author for writing about a transphobic family. It's unfortunately something that is far too common in real life. And writing about a trans person with an unaccepting family is fine. People can write about bad things happening. That isn't what makes something problematic. The execution of it does. They tell Jessica not to repeat what she said to anyone, and that this is just a phase that she'll grow out of. There's been all this talk about people being transgender on the radio and television, and when she said the word transgender, she used her fingers to make inverted comma signs in the air, and you're really just trying to be different. Mum then compares it to when she wanted to be a detective because she read too many Nancy Drew books as a kid. That is not the same thing at all, And remember last summer when your brother couldn't stop listening to Ed Sheeran records? It's true, I said, nodding, and now I look back and wonder, what on earth was I thinking? It's nowhere near the top of my issues list, but why does this book hate Ed Sheeran so much? I've skipped over it because it's irrelevant, but multiple times people have just dumped on him. Like, ew, you like Ed Sheeran? What the heck is wrong with you? Like, is there a controversy I don't know about? Did something happen? Like, it's not my type of music, but he's alright, isn't he? I don't know. As you will definitely notice, the parents are cartoonishly bad. Like, even putting the transphobia aside, these are awful people. The dad doesn't care if his child's upset at all. Earlier, when Jessica is crying in her room, Sam asks what she's doing in there, and he says, "I dread to think, some things are best left alone if you ask me." When she comes out as trans, the dad considers Jessica to be mentally sick and is straight up mean to her at points, and, I shit you not, wants to put her through electroshock therapy. They talk about getting her, quote, medical help. He says, "Pills perhaps, or hypnosis, electroshock therapy." "What's that?" he asked. "I'm not entirely sure, but I think it involves strapping lots of wires to you, and whenever you think something you shouldn't think, then you get a shock. A fairly light one, I mean, not enough to cause any permanent damage, and eventually you become too scared to think it anymore." He even asks a doctor about it later, and saying, "We're open to anything, even if there's a little discomfort involved." I am surprised he didn't suggest a lobotomy. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what's used in medical treatment. It's not used for this. Using it to terrify and brainwash your child is abuse and torture. AKA conversion therapy. The father is bad, but I don't think the mum is that much better. She doesn't object to the electroshock therapy, but instead her issue is with which doctor they tell. Because she doesn't want any of this leaking, it will be disastrous for her career. Because having a trans kid would be awful. It reminds me of a time when my mum used to own a shop, and some woman told her that me being trans would ruin her business. Did you know, when mum owned the shop, that said to her that me being trans would negatively affect the business?
What?
Yeah.
How? How? You're not gonna, like, whop a massive cock out over the wool, are you? God's sake. Just flop it out onto the counter. Honestly. No, it has no bearing whatsoever, does it?
What an awful woman.
She was dreadful, isn't she?
But this mum doesn't want anyone to know. "We tell no one," said Mum, turning to look at each of us in turn. "Absolutely no one. We treat this as if Jason has murdered someone." What? And when Jessica calls her out on this, 'cause what the hell, Mum replies, "Oh, for God's sake, I don't know what I'm saying," roared Mum, banging both hands down on the table before her so all the plates, cups and glasses shook a little while the rest of us jumped in surprise. "And no, of course I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to make sense of all of this and do what's best for everyone, okay? This is all new to me, can't you understand that? You can't expect us to have answers for everything immediately. You have to be fair to us too, you know. You've been thinking about this for a long time. It's all new to your dad and me." Look, I know a family member being trans can be hard to come to terms with, but there is a difference between, "Sorry, it's hard to get your name and pronouns right because I've known you for so long," and comparing being trans to being a murderer? Plus, Jessica isn't expecting them to adapt immediately, or have all the answers. Mum demands Sam doesn't tell anyone either, and you, Sam, you're not to breathe a word about this to anyone, understand? I know what a little blabbermouth you can be. "And as for you," said Mum, turning to my brother Jason, who, to my shock, put his head in his hands and started to cry. "Why are you crying?" asked Dad, reaching over and putting a hand on his elbow. "Can't you see that we're trying to help you?" "I'm sorry," he said. "Sorry for what? For crying or for making that speech last night?" "For everything," he said. This is just sad. Jessica has nothing to apologise for. Did you find it difficult to adjust to, like, name and pronoun changes? It's alright if yes, you know, it's...
I think I can remember getting it wrong a few times. Be like, oh, sorry, and then just correcting it. It's funny. I haven't thought about you as your dead name for I don't know, decades now almost. But occasionally I have a dream, and in the dream I'll call you your dead name. And then I'll be like, oh my god!
And you'd be like, what the fuck, subconscious?
Yeah! It's really weird. And I wake up and be like, I haven't even thought that name in about 10 years. Why am I even thinking of it? So it's obviously still there, buried in my subconscious.
Yeah.
But, no, I had no problem.
Another little time jump. Sam is at school, and Nemesis David outs Jessica in front of Sam's class. Jessica, who is not there. I know this kid is like 13, but don't freaking out people without their permission. And spoilers, David never gets any comeuppance for this. It turns out Sam's brother has decided that he wants to be a girl. Everyone was turning to each other now, mouths open in amazement. I haven't been 13 for a very long time, but are trans people that big of a deal? Like, David goes on to bully Sam mercilessly, like calling him gay, leaving bras and makeup in his locker. And this got me thinking, when is this actually set? Because to me this entire book feels outdated. I initially thought it legit took place in the 90s or something, until they started mentioning iPads. I'm not at school anymore, thank God, but is gay really an insult anymore? And the fact that everyone comments that Jessica's long hair is girly strikes me as a very early noughties outlook. I would say that this takes place around 2015-ish because of iPads and Ed Sheeran, but at the end we meet the president, who is very clearly Trump, who first came into office in 2017. It just has a dated vibe, but it's inconclusive. So how did me transitioning affect your life? Like, just be as vague or as specific as you want.
I mean this in the nicest possible way. It had no effect on my life whatsoever. And I mean that as a positive thing.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
You're just... Am I allowed to say your name? You're just Vigo? Vigo. You're just Vigo.
Yeah.
You know, we still had the same childhood memories together. We still talk about the same stuff. You know, that's very little difference.
Yeah.
You know.
Cool. Did anything about my transition like upset you in your memory?
No, I can never remember being particularly upset at all.
No, sort of the changes. Did you ever want anything to like go back to normal, quote unquote?
I think there was a part of me that was like, oh, it's a shame that we won't be able to sort of do makeup and stuff together. But then you weren't ever that way inclined anyway.
We never really did that in the first place.
And it's a very sort of, I don't know, gender stereotypy sort of thing to think.
But it's a sort of a teenage thing to, you know.
I guess.
There's no shame in that thought, I guess.
No, I've grown from that. So yeah, that was the only thing, like, oh, we won't be able to like go clothes shopping or makeup but then like I was saying, we didn't do that anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so
it's fine.
Nothing lost.
Yeah, again, no difference.
Yeah. When I first came out as trans, did you like worry about my feelings at all, or were you sort of in a state where you were just sort of, that doesn't sound like it.
No, that makes sense. Like self-absorbed, like self-immersed in my own reality.
Yeah, but not in a rude way. This was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I was a teenager, so I was pretty self-absorbed.
Yeah.
I can remember thinking, oh, if this is a phase, it's quite a significant thing to come back from.
Yeah.
But that's the only like worry I had. I think would be just, this is going to need some backtracking. If he does change his mind, it's fine if he does, and it's fine if he doesn't.
Yeah.
And that was my only like thing. You know.
So did you that leads on to the next question. Did you worry that it was a phase? Did it seem like a phase to you?
I mean, teenagers, you know, are known for going through phases. God knows I went through many a phase.
Yeah.
my goth phase particularly stands out. But I mean, it's a time of self-expression. I guess if it was a phase, it would have been absolutely fine. You know, I had a brief, I don't know, it lasted about a month, where I questioned, was I really a woman? And I came to the conclusion, yes, I definitely was. But yeah, I think that's what being a teenager is all about. So it wouldn't have mattered if it was a phase, but whether I thought it was, I honestly can't remember.
Basically, Sam's peaceful life has been ruined, and this highlights one of the main problems with this book. It's a trans story that's focused around cisgender pain. It's about how hard it is to have a trans sister. Multiple times, Sam blames Jessica for the fact he's being bullied. I was convinced that my life was over, and I blamed my brother Jason for it. I'd been getting along fine in school, nowhere near the top of the popularity list, but with no serious enemies either, and now I was a figure of fun to everyone, and none of it was my fault. And he talks about wanting to hurt Jessica later on. And when he talks to Jessica about this, and she says it's not going well for her either, he says, "But you started it," I cried, jumping up in frustration. "It's all your fault." "I know," he said. Blame the bullies! And this is never refuted. Sam never realises that it isn't Jessica's fault, or even apologises for anything he says. Later on, she even tells him, "I suppose I didn't think all this through before I told you and Mum and Dad," he said eventually. "I didn't realise how badly it would affect you." No, you didn't. The entire narrative sidelines trans pain to put cis struggles in the spotlight. It wasn't until I finished reading it that I saw a video about his other work, The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, and apparently this kind of problem isn't new. I have not read the book myself, so grain of salt. A similar criticism is given. It sidelines the horrors of those in the concentration camps, focusing instead on a boy who's part of a Nazi sympathising family. I'll leave the video link in the description, it's worth a watch. The entire family go on holiday to the Lake District to get away from everything. I'm trying to move quickly because the video's going to be long enough already. Not a lot happens, to be honest. Jessica calls a bigoted woman out on her BS, who just happens to be a fan of the mum. To which the dad says, "You're just determined to ruin this holiday, aren't you?" asked Dad, turning to him furiously. If you can't be polite with people, then it's best you don't open your mouth at all." "So I shouldn't speak?" he asked. "I shouldn't express an opinion?" "All things considered," said Dad, "it would probably be better if you didn't. And take that ridiculous scarf off and pull your hair out of that stupid ponytail. And do something about that stupid fringe and those pathetic layers that make you look like Rachel from Friends. Do you have any idea how embarrassing it is to be sitting next to you when you look like that?" Did I ever, embarrass you in relation to trans stuff? I was
gonna say yes.
I was a fucking nerd. Of course I embarrassed you. But in relation to trans stuff, was it embarrassing to go out with a to go outside with a trans person?
No. Ridiculous. No, of course it wasn't. No bearing at all. I don't get embarrassed easily by people who I'm with. They can express themselves however they like. Doesn't have any impact on me.
Yeah. In terms of other embarrassment,
oh yeah,
you've got
you embarrass me all the time.
Were there any changes to your social life because of it, positive or negative? If you told your friends, did they react a certain way?
I mean, again, I think by the time you'd come out properly, I'd left school. I think occasionally, people might go "Oh, your brother's trans." I'm like, "Yep," and then that was the end of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever. No, I'd remember if I got any crap for it, which I never did. Because I would have jumped at it. Why would you think that? Why'd you say that?
They would no longer have a problem with it.
Yeah. No, again, no changes in a positive way. When people did gently say that, "Oh, so I hear so your sibling is now trans," I'd immediately be quite defensive, be like, yes they are.
And
yeah, and so I never got any sort of flack for it. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of if I was bullied for it, but no, I still, it's not your fault. It wouldn't be your fault. It would be the fault of the bullies.
Yeah. When I wasn't passing as a man, how did it feel when we went out as a family and I was in man mode? Short hair, masculine clothes, clearly trying to look like a man. How did that make you feel?
Okay, you've been a tomboy for so long, and I use quote unquote tomboy. It wasn't really that much difference. It was just nicer to see you less uncomfortable and more open in your body language, and you looked more comfortable in yourself wearing guys' clothes.
The mum gets what is meant to be a character arc in this book, which I will talk about later, but the dad doesn't. He says all these horrible things, but we don't see him actively improve his behaviour, which is infuriating. At their holiday home, Sam sees Jessica's scarf and scrunchie lying on the side. I wondered what he'd think if he woke up and they were missing. He'd know that I'd taken them, of course, but if only one was missing, then you might think he'd just misplaced it. So he debates stealing Jessica's femme accessories, the things that help alleviate gender dysphoria and make her feel better. So Sam doesn't actually do it, right? Right? It's confirmed later that he stole both. Our lovable protagonist. Just you wait. It gets worse. Jessica and Sam do have a conversation, and the latter finds out that OMG, it turns out Jessica is also having a hard time. Who'd have thought? There is a well-put section about how Jessica is having difficulties too, and talk about her always feeling this way, moments about wanting a doll for Christmas, feeling like she was shopping for the wrong clothes, almost walking into the girls' bathroom on instinct because it felt right, that sort of thing. And there's a nice conversation where Sam asks, wouldn't you rather date boys? And she says, no, she still likes girls. Sexuality and gender are not the same thing, and I absolutely love when that's pointed out. Good job. But Sam is still insisting that Jessica's a boy, unfortunately, and he starts being worried that he'll become trans too. And surprisingly, I don't have a massive issue with this. It's a realistic thing for a young boy to think, but a young boy of about maybe 7? But he's 13, and his internal monologue sounds a lot younger than he's supposed to be. Perhaps if Sam were a tad younger, this would be more believable. Later he asks if Jessica's willy will fall off. That seems like a very juvenile thing to think, and he gets so confused about everything. And I get it, I was dense as a box of rocks when I was a kid, but Sam's always saying how he doesn't understand things, he's so confused, and he just wants his brother back. All Sam wants is for things to return to quote-unquote normal. Who cares how Jessica feels about that? It's ruining Sam's life, and that's what matters. Which leads me back to my main problem I mentioned earlier. It's all about cisgender pain. He uses a trans person's experience as a vehicle to centre cis problems. I'm not saying that their feelings don't matter, but to me this book reads like Sam's problems are so much worse than Jessica's. I'd much rather read a book from her point of view, and what confuses me is that the author seems to be aware that the feelings of the trans character should be the focus. They go to see a therapist, and the mum says, "Can't you at least allow that I have the right to my own feelings?" And the therapist says, "As they affect you, yes, but are they the most important thing?" And in a certain context, this is a good moment. Sam is being told that maybe he isn't the most important person in this scenario. This is said later as well. Your feelings matter, but they're not the most important thing in this situation. Good, but that should be applied to the entire book. Is this the most important story that needs telling? Would you rather read a story about a trans woman and the struggles she goes through, or about how hard it is that you have a trans sibling? I know my answer. I believe that people should be able to write whatever they want, freedom of speech, etc. But we also have the right to say, this feels a bit icky. Here I noticed that there are a couple of weird Harry Potter references. Like, I'm fine with referencing other media, but these serve absolutely no purpose. They're talking about a woman that they all know. I always thought of her as more of a Maggie Smith character. Who's Maggie Smith? I asked. Professor McGonagall, she told me, from the Harry Potter movies. We never meet this woman, so it is pointless. There's another later on when Sam and Jessica are both being taken out of class. I wondered whether we were both being taken out of school forever and sent somewhere different where no one knew either of us. Hogwarts maybe, where I could magic him back to the way he used to be. Rowling would love that. When is she putting that on Pottermore? Right after they magically clean up their shit, they wave away any transness with their magic wand. When did JK start going off the deep end? She came out with her transphobic essay in 2020, and this came out in 2019, so the timelines don't quite align. It's not much of a correlation, but I thought it was interesting. So they go to a therapist as a family. The mum is constantly worried about this leaking to the press. Sam is confused about what's going on, as always. But this is good. It's a good idea to go see someone if your family is having issues. Jessica has this to say. I was born a boy, but for as long as I can remember, I've believed that there was some sort of mistake made, by God or whoever. It's as if the body I have is not the one I'm supposed to have. The truth is, I've always believed that I'm actually a girl. I've bottled these feelings up all my life and never spoken about them until recently. I was frightened to talk about them, I suppose. Frightened for what it might mean. But somehow I just don't feel that sense of panic anymore. I want to understand it. I want to discover how to be the me that I think I am and be able to live my life the way I'm supposed to. Right now, every day I spend as Jason feels like 24 hours of dishonesty, and I don't want to be a dishonest person. I like this. Mr. Boyne says in the afterword that he spoke to transgender people when writing this book, and I'm inclined to believe that. A lot of trans people feel like they were born in the wrong body, and this is said well. To her credit, the mum says she wants to understand and to be part of this, but she does keep running her mouth, speculating that it's caused by trauma, and whether or not it was their fault as parents. She does mention being worried about hate crimes, but this is literally the first time she's mentioned that. It has been all about her reputation as a politician before this. Jessica asks why they aren't encouraging her on this because they have in other aspects of her life, and she says that they are good parents. Excuse me, what? Let me tell you some of the shit they've done. Literally pushed Sam. Called Jessica names, including pathetic. Wanted to put her through traumatic conversion therapy. Told her to shut up and not voice her opinion. Repeatedly not listen to any of their children. Belittle and don't value their children's opinion. Uses manipulative language when being called out on their flaws. They don't care about their children's feelings, only making it about themselves. They consistently put their careers above their kids' needs. They tried to force Jessica into a career that she doesn't want. Not giving a fuck when they're upset. And more. The dad says Jessica has turned into a different person.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
Quick tangent. If a person starts transitioning, they haven't died, they're still the same person. The meeting goes downhill when Mum says she's worried about how this will affect Sam. What if he wakes up and says he wants to be, I don't know, a kangaroo or something? Jessica, justifiably, gets upset, because that is not the same thing at all. Gender, it's a spectrum. Yes, there are different genitalia, but what we think of as manly and womanly, we put upon ourselves through many, many years. Mum does apologise for the bad choice of words, but then reverses all the progress made by saying Jessica is quite clearly a boy and calls being trans ridiculous. So Jessica storms out. Good for her. The dad ends this appointment and the chapter by saying, "You never answered my question regarding the electroshock therapy," said Dad eventually. "Tell me, is that something that still goes on?" Is that supposed to be funny? It's set up like it is, but it's not funny at all. So when I did start sort of accepting the fact that I was trans, how did that make you feel when I started acting on said transness?
I think I was very proud. And it's quite it's quite a ballsy thing to do, if you'll pardon the horrific pun. I just thought it was really brave. I don't know whether I would have it in me to be that brave, I'll be honest, if I felt that I was in the wrong body, or I felt I was, inherently something wasn't aligned properly. I don't know how you describe it.
It's like, it's different for different people. Like, some people think they're in the wrong body, some people like their body. It is, I get what you're saying, so don't worry about it. Onwards a bit, the football coach comes over because he's heard the rumour, but Coach is the frickin' goat because he does not care about her being trans, he just wants to make sure that she stays on the team. But Mum makes Jessica quit because, should you maybe be thinking about how you're making the other players feel uncomfortable? And when the coach leaves, she berates her. Now look what's happened, said Mum. It's only a matter of time until the papers get hold of it. How could you do this to me, Jason? She cried. You're the most selfish, the most irresponsible. I didn't do anything, he said, bending over in the chair and starting to cry. Please stop shouting at me. I will not stop shouting at you until you put an end to this nonsense, said Mum. You're going to ruin my career and your own life if you're not careful. But you don't care about that, do you? Oh no. You're not giving it a second thought, and for God's sake will you cut your hair? You look ridiculous. Parents of the Year. This book was just unpleasant to read, not gonna lie. At this point, Jessica is severely depressed, and I was very worried that this would take a dark turn, because suicide rates of transgender people, especially those with non-supportive families who are forced into the closet, are extremely high. But that isn't mentioned at all, and Sam makes it about himself as usual. I heard him crying when he went to bed, but when that happened I didn't want to go in anyway. His tears frightened me. I wanted my big brother to be strong. That was the way he'd always been, and I didn't want him to change. I know Sam is a child, but there's not even a, oh, hope they're okay. Nothing. This is where Sam says to Jessica that it's all her fault, as I mentioned earlier, and one night his need for his big brother to be back is so strong that he sneaks into her bedroom and cuts off her hair. When I climbed back into bed, I lay there for a long time, my heart pounding in my chest, uncertain whether I'd done the right thing or not. Perhaps, I reasoned, when he woke up and he saw himself in the mirror, he would remember that he was a boy and put all this rubbish behind him. I was doing him a favour, I told myself. This is a horrendous thing to do, obviously. He doesn't fess up to this, and Jessica understandably blames her parents. And the dad tries to gaslight her into thinking she cut it off herself? The fact is, and I can't believe you haven't figured this out by now, you cut it off yourself. It might sound ridiculous, but just hear me out. You woke up in the middle of the night, looked into the mirror, and your subconscious told you that you were pretending to be someone you're not. And so you cut off your ponytail, then went back to sleep and remembered nothing about it the next day. It's obvious. You've blocked out the memory because it contradicts everything you're saying aloud. That's an interesting hypothesis, said Mum, nodding her head. See, that isn't the silly thoughts of a 13-year-old. These are adult members of Parliament. This is the catalyst of Jessica leaving, and I'm surprised she didn't do this sooner. She goes to stay with their Aunt Rose, who is supportive and accepting. And we get quite a big time skip. Life just goes on. No one talks about Jessica for months. Mum is preparing for an election, and even the bullies have moved on to other gossip. So things are good when those pesky trans people get out the way. Eventually, Sam gets an invite to come stay at Aunt Rose's, and he just goes on the train without telling his parents. He just writes them a note and leaves. This might be nitpicking, but I suppose this whole video kind of is. But Rose is another caricature. She's the new age eccentric, the vegetarian that travels by horse instead of a car because of emissions, that kind of thing. It just rubs me the wrong way that the comedically eccentric character is the only one that genders Jessica correctly. They have a chat about Jessica, and it's an alright way of explaining trans people to a young child. If I said you were a plant pot, would that make you a plant pot? It's not the same thing, I said, shaking my head. Not even close. No one wants to be called something they're not, though, do they? What if I said you were a girl, that you were my niece? But I'm not, I protested. I'm a boy, I'm your nephew. I know you are, and you know you are, but Jason felt differently. This is good. This is why I'm so conflicted about this book. It has good moments like this, genuinely good. And then there's all this other stuff. Sam says that they all tried to listen, but Jessica expected them all to understand immediately. Which isn't what I read. In my recollection, she came out to them and the family did everything in their power to put her back in the closet. Rose realises that Sam is the one who cut Jessica's hair and rightfully calls him out on it, but he tells her to stop calling Jessica her because he hates it. Jessica herself arrives at the house at that point, in full femme get-up, looking very happy. Turns out if someone's in a supportive environment, they thrive. Who knew? Over time staying there, Sam talks with Jessica and realises that she's still the same person on the inside, but still misgendering her all the while. Then he goes home, but Jessica won't come with him, saying that she isn't ready yet. A subplot that I haven't mentioned because it wasn't really relevant is that Sam got a girlfriend who is the daughter of another politician. He at one point has a little cry to her about how hard it is to have a trans sibling. Oh, woe is him, it must be so difficult. She promises not to tell anyone, but surprise surprise, she does. Turns out her father is running against the mum for the Prime Minister's job and uses this scandalous bit of info to turn the public against her. A lot of horrible stuff is said in the papers, which is realistic with what I know about the UK's journalism. It includes stuff about blaming the parents for their kid being trans. Jeremy Clarkson, is that you? Do you think I'm trans because of mum and dad?
What? No. No, I mean, they've always been very open, but I wouldn't say that they're... I can't remember them being overtly liberal when we were children. They were quite,
They're lovely people.
Very open, very accepting.
Yeah.
Just maybe not aware of it. And therefore we weren't aware of it because we were never taught it,
Yeah, because we were sort of brought up in a very kind of not very diverse area of the Southwest, let's say.
I mean, the Southwest in itself is not very diverse.
Exactly.
Our area in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't blame the parents at all.
No.
Oh dear. Was any of my transition difficult to, emotionally deal with for you? Take that as that question as you will.
Emotionally difficult. No. I just took it in my stride, really.
Alright, this is a thing that's happening now.
Yeah. Okay. When you asked me to do this, I did a brief bit of research of sort of on Google, and it was all Reddit posts like, oh, my sibling is trans and I don't know what to do and it's all so awful. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
They're the same person. What does it matter, whether they're a man or a woman? They're the same person, Just...
Yeah. Were you ever, confused, I guess? About being, about transness?
Confused. I don't know. I guess a bit because I will never have a full understanding of what it feels like because it's something that I don't experience. So, yes, but not in a I just don't understand why they're doing this, the kind of way.
Yeah.
Just in a I don't fully get it, but whatever. Yeah. Whatever makes them happy, they should just do.
We are on page 217 of 242, not long left at all, and now is where the, quote, character development kicks in, or rather, all the characters do a complete 180 out of the blue. The mum admits that they're at fault for Jessica leaving, and Sam says that they all didn't treat her very well. This sounds like I'm skipping things, but a lot happens in a very short space of time. Mum is withdrawing from the election. She suddenly realises that her family is more important than her career, and she starts making a public speech to a crowd of people. And in this crowd is Jessica, but instead of looking femme and happy, she's dressed in masculine clothes, has a beard, and looks miserable. She walks up to the stage, basically saying that she's gone back to who she used to be. It'll help you get the job. I don't mind, I swear. I can do this. I promise I can. I'll never talk about it again. I'll stay like this. I'll stay like Jason. This feels gross, but I can't eloquently explain why. A trans person shouldn't have to give themselves up for someone else. But she doesn't have to though, because Sam shouts to the crowd, "There is no Jason. My brother's name is Jessica."
You're a little confused, but he got the spirit.
We have our title, everyone. This is the first time Sam's called her by her name, and he's still misgendering her. Lil Bro is so close. We reach the last chapter, which is a rushed where they are now sort of thing. Wow, didn't know John Boyne was another Rowling pen name. 3 years later, and they now live in 10 Downing Street, and the mum is the Prime Minister. Everyone's happy. This part is written in first person. He's now calling her his sister at last. His nemesis, the little gremlin arsehole who constantly bullied him and outed his sister, is now his, quote, best friend. Turns out he was just confused about his own life, coming to terms with being gay, and that's why he did all those horrible things with no consequences. The mum is now super supportive, Sam has a new girlfriend, Jessica's now in university, and it ends with Sam calling her my sister Jessica. The end. This book is supposed to be about Sam learning how to accept trans people, I guess, but this development seems to happen in the last few pages of the book. Here are some miscellaneous things that I liked. Shows that sexuality and gender are not the same thing. There's a trans man mention. It's only one line, but we rarely ever get mentioned in anything, so I count that as a win. I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel so much I'm getting splinters. The parents claim that Jessica got her transness from the internet. That's just dumb. Jessica says that she hopes attitudes will change towards trans people in the future. Oh dear, I'm sorry, Jessica. As I said, this book left me conflicted. When he wrote this, John Boyne seemed to have a genuine empathy for the trans community. In the afterword, he talks about the courage of transgender youth and how we as a society need to stand up for the oppressed lest we become the oppressors. And this quote stood out to me. Here are people who need to live their lives in the most authentic way they can, as themselves, as their true selves, and it takes a lot of guts to do that when society can be unkind to anyone who doesn't fit into its narrow definition of gender. I might not agree with how he executed this book, but it seems to be coming from a good place with good motives, albeit misguided. So why is he now a proud TERF who aligns himself with someone who takes immense joy and pride in stripping trans people of their rights? What happened? Was he angry that people objected to this book? I know I have issues with it, but there are some genuinely good moments. Why is he now a vocal part of a dangerous anti-trans movement? So if by some happenstance he sees this, you said it yourself, Mr. Boyne, choose the kind of person you want to be and be able to live with that decision. Thank you so much.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I guess I'd just say to like any siblings of trans people that are listening to this, thinking, oh my god, and it's okay if you do feel sad and sort of confused. And I know I've been very like blasé about it, but I don't want to diminish anyone's sort of inner turmoil because it is a very charged topic, and you might feel like you're losing that person. But I guess just hold on to what makes them them, like your shared childhood memories that you'll always have together. They'll still have the same interests. They're not suddenly gonna become this whole new person. It's just a different facet of themselves. And I think just try and empathise as to how scary this must be for them, and try not to let your feelings get in the way of sort of them becoming a happier person. You know, just try and you can't. They're not going to suddenly put it back in the box once they've come out. That's that. I think you just need to just sort of I don't know
just be there for them through this.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Your feelings definitely matter, but in terms of someone coming out as trans, they're not the priority. You know, I guess it's a hard thing to put into words, really.
Yeah, like if you kick up a fuss, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, no, you're right, I was wrong. I'm actually not trans. And, you know, you're not going to get them to go back into that horrible box again. So just make the most of it. Sounds like it's a negative thing, and it's not at all. But just do what you can to keep the relationship going with your sibling. And help them.
Yeah, that was very well put.
I don't think it was a bit like blathering, but
I think you got a good message across.
yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much.
That's okay, thank you for having me.
Anyway, that was the book. Subscribe for more stuff like this. I also stream on Twitch multiple times a week, playing video games, being goofy. Come say hi. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Love ya. Bye.